Hello everyone, my name is Pragya Sahu and I am Prime Minister Research Fellow here at Department of Chemistry IIT Kanpur. And today I will teach you guys thermodynamics. So basically thermodynamics is study of heat and heat transfer. So thermo means heat or energy. So thermodynamics. Thermo means heat or energy and dynamics means motion. So thermodynamics is basically the study of heat, transfer of heat or energy. So for example, let us say we have any matter, okay? Let's say fuel. So we give this fuel to a car engine and the combustion of this fuel will produce heat, okay? So this heat produced can be used for mechanical work and it can also be converted into electrical work, okay? So basically what is happening over here is that heat of one form of energy is getting converted to another forms of energy. So these transformations of energy from one form to another is called thermodynamics. So we can see now here like heat, a form of energy, and we are doing a mechanical work from it, or we can do an electrical work. So there is the transformation of one form of energy to another, and we can also see that during this process the energy is not getting lost, like it is converting from one form to another, but there is no loss. So this is only the first law of thermodynamics, that energy can neither be created or destroyed. I in sense this is energy is conserved, okay? So this will I will teach you about this first law of thermodynamics in upcoming classes. So now I want to clear about what is energy, work and heat. Okay. So let us study first what is exactly energy, work and heat. So energy, basically we can define it the tendency to do work. Energy can be stored. Okay. But work and heat are a form of energy. Like work is a mode of transfer of energy. Like we can say that this is 1 kilojoule of work. We can't say it like this, or we can say this is 1 kilojoule of heat, but we can say this is 2 kilojoule energy. Okay, so work and heat are a mode of transfer of energy. Of energy. Okay, so in thermodynamics we study at macroscopic level. So let's say we have a matter. So they are studied at bulk level. I mean macroscopic level. Okay. So this study of the properties at bulk level, we study about this in thermodynamics. Okay. Let's say we have a beaker. So we are having a beaker. Okay. And we put some water in it. Okay. So we will study about all the contents of the beaker. Like we can say what is the volume of the beaker. So volume will be, let's say, 20 ml. What is the pressure? Let's say 2 atm. What is the temperature? Let's say it is at room temperature, then 298 Kelvin or 25 degrees Celsius. So we are studying it at macroscopic level, not about a single molecule. Okay. So in thermodynamics, we study at bulk level. Next. Okay. So before going further, let us go to learn some terms. We will understand some basic terms, thermodynamics terms. So what system and surroundings. Okay. So universe, whole universe is the system. Okay. Thus anything under thermodynamic observation is called system. Okay. Let's say we are having this a beaker having some chemical in it. Okay. Now at some temperature. So this is our system. This is our system where we will study. Okay. But we will observe what is the pressure, temperature, or if we are changing anything, what will be the effect on this. Okay. So this is our system. This is under observation. Okay. If we are changing something, then what will be effect on this? And everything except this beaker, this system is surrounding. Okay. So for definition, we will go like system. Anything under thermodynamic observation is called system, and surrounding every other part of the universe other than system is called surrounding. And as I told you earlier, the universe is basically the whole system plus surrounding. So biggest surrounding of any system is universe. But for the sake of simplicity, we take immediate surrounding. For example, is sphere of interaction of system and surrounding. Let's say this beaker is kept in a room which is in interaction with the system. So we will take the room as a surrounding. Or we can say that, let's say, for example, you are watching this video on your screen or on your system like phone or laptop. Then your laptop would be the system and your room in which you are studying will be surrounding because you are in interaction with that. Or you can, or this system cannot be only one thing. Let's say you are sitting in a room. Okay. Here is your bed and you are watching this video on your laptop. So laptop is your system. Okay. You are also watching TV. Okay. So at a time you are watching TV and also your screen. So this TV screen as well as your laptop or phone is under your observation. So this is your system, and everything except this TV and your laptop will act as a surrounding. Okay. Okay. So what I taught you guys here is that a system is anything that is under observation, and surrounding is everything except your system will be considered as a surrounding, and the system and surrounding as a whole will act as is universe. Okay. So yeah. Okay. The boundary. So boundaries are the hypothetical, imaginary or real separation between the system and surrounding. Okay, so this was your system. Okay, let me tell you this way. So this was your system, and so this is the boundary. Your beaker will act as a boundary between your system and the surrounding. So boundaries are imaginary or real separation between system and surrounding, called boundary. So boundaries are of three types: permeable boundaries, semi-permeable boundary, or non-permeable boundary. Okay. So permeable boundary is that boundary which allows the exchange of matter as well as heat between the system and surrounding. Okay. Okay. For example, permeable allows the exchange of matter as well as heat. So let's say you are making a tea in this beaker. Okay. Flame is there. This is flame and you are making tea. Okay. So this system is open. Okay. So you can add anything or you can take out anything. Okay. From this system. Here this beaker is acting as your system. Okay. So we can add anything or remove anything from this system. So what this basically means, that the matter can be exchanged with this system. So matter can be exchanged. Now let's say, and you are heating the system. Okay. Now the energy can be exchanged between the system and the surrounding. As the lid is open, okay, there is no lid. This beaker is open. So when you are heating the system, the energy is getting exchanged between the system and the surrounding. So this kind of boundary is called permeable boundary, because also matter can be exchanged and as well as energy. Okay. So this kind of systems are called open system, and they are separated by this permeable boundary. Okay. So now you get that what permeable boundary exactly are. So permeable boundary are the boundaries which allows the exchange of matter as well as heat between the system and surrounding. System and the surrounding. Okay. Now semi-permeable membrane. Okay. So semi-permeable boundary is that boundary in which allows the exchange of heat, but mass cannot be exchanged between the system and the surrounding. So now let's say we are closing this beaker, okay, with a lid. Let's say we put a lid over here. Now you can see that now you can't add anything or remove anything from this system. So now matter cannot be exchanged here. Okay. In previous case, in case of permeable boundary, we can add anything or remove anything. That was a permeable. But now here we are closing it with the system with a lid. So now we cannot add anything or remove anything. This kind of boundaries where mass cannot be exchanged. I mean matter cannot be exchanged. Okay. But here we can see that if you heat the system, the energy can still be exchanged within your system and surrounding. Okay. So this kind of boundaries which don't allow the exchange of matter but allows the exchange of heat are called semi-permeable boundary. Okay. So semi-permeable boundary are the boundaries which allows exchange of heat but mass cannot be exchanged between system and surrounding. Okay. And such a system is called as closed system. Okay. So all the heat exchanger are closed system. So only heat can be exchanged and mass cannot be exchanged. This kind of system are called closed system. Okay. Next is non-permeable boundary. So a boundary through which both heat and mass can't be exchanged between system and surrounding. I.e. system is isolated from the surrounding, and such system is called as isolated system. So let us say we so now the if say the walls are insulated, okay, now the heat can't be exchanged from this system. Now, as we have already closed the lid, so mass cannot be exchanged, and now we have taken an insulated wall, so now heat can also not be exchanged from this system. So this kind of system is called uh, isolated system, and this boundary is called non-permeable boundary
Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
system and the surrounding. And such a boundary is also called as diathermic boundary or adiabatic boundary. Diathermic boundary or adiabatic boundary. Okay, but see, 100% isolation is never possible. It is an ideal concept. Okay, so this concept is ideal because it's not possible for 100% isolation. And such kind of system, okay, now we have taken insulated wall and closed the lid. So now this system is called as isolated system. So in next slide, as I already mentioned here, so this is there are three types of system: open system, closed system, and isolated system. Okay, now we will discuss this. So in an open system, there is exchange of energy and matter between the system and surrounding. Okay, I already told you that in open system, mass can always mass as well as heat can be exchanged between each other. Okay, so and what kind of boundaries will be there? Permeable boundaries. Okay, the boundaries which separates the system with the surrounding will be called as permeable boundaries. Okay, so the open system. So in an open system, there is exchange of energy and matter between system and surrounding. And for example, as already given, that an open beaker containing some reactants will act as an open system. And next is the closed system. So in a closed system, there is no exchange of matter, but there will be exchange of energy possible between the system and the surrounding. So now in case of open system, we had taken an open beaker. Now if we close the beaker, then the system will be called as closed system. Okay. So in a closed system, there is no exchange of matter, but exchange of energy is possible between the system and surrounding. So the presence of reactants in a closed vessel or beaker made of a conducting material such as copper or steel will be an example of a closed system. The next one is the isolated system. So in an isolated system, there is no exchange of energy or matter between the system and the surrounding, and these are separated by non-permeable boundaries. Okay. So in an isolated system, there is no exchange of energy or matter between the system and the surroundings. Okay. So the presence of reactants in a thermos flask or any other closed insulated vessel is an example of an isolated system. So example, the presence of reactants in a thermos flask or any other insulated vessel is an example of isolated system. So in summary, if this is your system and this is your surrounding, then it is said to be open if energy as well as matter can be exchanged. Okay, energy will can also be exchanged as well as matter. It will be called as a closed system if only energy can be exchanged but mass cannot be exchanged. Okay, and it is said to be isolated system, will be called as isolated system if neither energy nor mass can be exchanged between the system and the surrounding. Okay, this kind of system will be called as isolated system. So next we will study about the state of the system. Okay, so the system must be described in order to make any useful calculations by specifying quantitatively each of properties such as its pressure, volume and temperature as well as the composition of the system. So we need to describe the system by specifying it before and after the change. So okay, now let us say we have a okay, we have a matter over here. Let's say we have a chemical over here. Okay. Okay, now we want to study about the change. Okay, so before studying the change, we should know the state of the system. Okay, states like what is the pressure, what is the volume, what is the temperature. So we have this kind of system, and we should know that what is this pressure, volume, temperature, or composition of the system. Okay, so we must define these properties. So we can describe the state of a gas by quoting its pressure, volume, temperature, or amount, etc. And these variables like pressure, volume, and temperature, these are called state variables, or we can also call them state functions, because their values depends only on the state of the system and not on how it is raised. Okay, so let's say we are changing its. This is at 25 degrees Celsius. Okay, let's say this beaker contains water and this is at 25 degrees Celsius. Now we are heating it. Okay, heat, we are providing heat and its temperature raises from 25 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees Celsius. So this temperature raises by 10 degrees Celsius. Okay, so this temperature is state function or state variable, because it does not depend on the path how this temperature has reached 35 degrees Celsius. It depends only on the initial and final. Okay, so first it was at 25 degrees Celsius and now it is at 35 degrees Celsius. Okay, and this is also the thing that in order to completely define the state of a system, it is not necessary to define all the properties of the system, as only a certain number of properties can be varied independently. Okay, so this pressure, volume and temperature are state variables. These are state variables or state functions. Well, let's say we have this a beaker containing 25 ml water. Now we add another 25 ml water and its volume has been changed now. It is now 50 ml water. Okay, so doesn't matter how this from which method this water is coming. It depends only on the initial and final position. Okay, initial, how it was, and final. So this volume is also a state function. Now, internal energy as a state function. So internal energy of a system. Okay, let's say we have a system. So we have a system, okay? So, and this internal energy is denoted by U, denoted by U, that is internal energy. Okay. So when we talk about our chemical system losing or gaining energy, we need to introduce a quantity which represents the total energy of the system. Okay, let's say we have a system. Okay. So if this system is gaining or losing energy, so we need a quantity which represents the total energy of the system. What actual is its energy now? Okay. So it may be a chemical energy, electrical, mechanical, or any other type of energy you may think of. So the sum of all this energy of the system will be, so what will be the sum of all this energy? So, and in, if we sum up all this energy in thermodynamics, we call it the internal energy. Okay, so internal energy may be electrical, chemical, or mechanical. Okay, and the sum of all these energies will be termed as the internal energy of the system. So this internal energy of the system can be changed when heat passes into or out of the system. Let's say this is your system and now you are heating it. So a heat is passing from your system, so it will change the internal energy. Next, if a work is done on the system or by the system, then it will also change the internal energy. Again, if we remove a matter from the system or we add some matter from into the system, then again the internal energy will be changed. So internal energy may change when first, when heat passes into or out of the system. Second, when work is done on or by the system. And the third one, if matter enters or leave the system. Okay. So this system, so in conclusion, I discussed here is the energy, this system, this is your system and its energy, it can be electrical, chemical, mechanical, or anything. The sum of all the energy of this system will be called as internal energy, and it can be changed when heat passes into or out of the system, or it can be also changed when work is done on the system or by the system, and if a matter enters or leave the system. Okay, so let us first examine a change in internal energy by doing work. As mentioned earlier, that internal energy can be altered by doing some work, or if we pass, if heat passes through it, or if matter enters or leaves the system. So let us first study a change in internal energy by doing work. So we take a system containing some quantity of water in a thermos flask, okay, or in an insulated beaker. So this is your beaker and we have some water in it. Okay, this is your system and anything except it, this is your surrounding. Sorry. So this is your surrounding. So we have taken a system containing some water in a thermos flask or an insulated beaker. So here this would allow the this will not allow the exchange of heat between the system and the surrounding through its boundary. And as already mentioned, that we call it this kind of system adiabatic. Okay, let me draw it again over here. So heat cannot be transferred from here. So this kind of system is called adiabatic. Okay, and the manner in which the state of such a system may be changed will be called as adiabatic process. I mean, the process in which the state of such a system, such as the pressure, temperature, volume, anything that will be changed, will be called as adiabatic process. Okay. So adiabatic process. So adiabatic process, it is a process in which there is no transfer of heat between the system and the surrounding. Okay. And the wall separating this system and the surrounding will be called as adiabatic wall. So this wall will be called as adiabatic wall. So the wall separating the system and the surrounding in an adiabatic system is called as adiabatic wall. So basically in adiabatic process there is no transfer of heat. And as I already told you that in case of non-permeable boundaries, there is no exchange of heat. Okay, so that process can be called as adiabatic process, because in adiabatic process there is no exchange of heat between your system and the surrounding. Okay, and this the wall separating this system with your surrounding will be called as the adiabatic wall. So in this case, here neither the energy nor the matter can be exchanged. So what kind of system is this? Where neither matter nor energy can be exchanged. So these are isolated system. Okay. So now let us bring the change in the internal energy of the system by doing some work on it. Okay. So because your internal energy depends on this work and heat. Okay, now if we want to change the internal energy of the system, we will have to do some work, or we will have to change the heat, or we can take out some matter from it, or we can add some matter in it to change this internal energy. So let us call this initial state of the system as state A, this as a state A, and its temperature be TA. Okay, T here denotes the temperature. So, and let the internal energy of the system in this state A be UA. U means internal energy. Okay, so now we can change this internal energy of the system in two different ways. Okay, so in 1 second, just I have to add one more slide. Wait, I'll just add a slide. Okay, now this is your system A, and the temperature is TA, and the internal energy of the system is UA. Okay, now we can change the internal of the system in two ways. The one way is we do some mechanical work by rotating a set of small paddles and thereby churning water. Okay, and let the new state be called B state, and then the temperature of this new state B will be TB, and it, okay, let's say this was your state A, Okay, its temperature was TA and internal energy was UA. Now you are doing some mechanical work, let's say by let's say 1 kilojoule by rotating a set of small paddles. Then its temperature will be changed, and this will be a new state, state B. Its temperature will be TB and internal energy will be UB. Okay, and it is found that this TB, temperature of the state B, is greater than temperature of the state A. Hence, this TB is greater than TA. If this is happening, then what will be the change in temperature? Delta T, TB, final temperature minus TA. So basically, final temperature minus initial temperature will be your change in temperature. Okay. So the change in temperature will be TB minus TA. And if UB is the internal energy of the state B, then the change in internal energy will be del U equal to final internal energy minus initial internal energy of state B minus internal energy of state A. Okay, this will be change in internal energy, delta U. Second way is, so second way is we do an equal amount of work, as told earlier that 1 kilojoule of, now we will do some 1 kilojoule of electrical work with the help of an immersion rod, and we'll note down the temperature change. Okay. Now we are doing an electrical work on it of the same, okay, 1 kilojoule energy. So using an immersion rod, and if we note down the temperature will be changed. Let's say again the temperature will be TB. And it has been found that the change in temperature is same as in the earlier case. So when they calculated the change in temperature delta T, TB minus TA, it was same as calculated in the first case. Okay, so this experiment was done by J.P. Joule between 1840 or 1850, and he was able to show that a given amount of work done on the system, no matter how it was done, I mean irrespective of the path, produces the same change of state as measured by the change in temperature of the system. So so here the given amount of work done on the system, no matter how it was done. So it doesn't depend that we did mechanical work or electrical work. The change in temperature, the state of the system was found to be same. So again, now, so the internal energy U, whose value is characteristics of the state of the system, whereby the adiabatic work denoted by WAD, adiabatic work. So we have done adiabatic work over here, okay, as the system was isolated. So the adiabatic work required to bring about a change of state is equal to the difference between the value of the internal energy in one state and that in another state. So we have done adiabatic work. So this adiabatic work will be equal to the difference in the internal energy of the final state and initial state of the system. Okay, so what was the final internal energy? UB. And what was the initial internal energy? UA. So the difference between the final internal energy and the initial internal energy U, will be your adiabatic work. Okay, so we can write it like this also, delta U equal to, because delta U was your internal energy difference between the final state and initial state. So this will be your equal to your adiabatic work. Okay, so UB minus UA will be W AD. Okay, and we know that work is a state function. Okay, so now this change in internal energy. Okay, now this is equal to a adiabatic work. Then this internal energy will also be termed as a state function. So therefore, internal energy U of the system is a state function. If now this del U, okay, this delta U, the change in internal energy, if this is positive, okay, then the work is done on the system. Okay, it will be positive because we are doing work. Okay, we have done mechanical work in first case, and then we have done electrical work in second case. So we are doing work on the system. So this change in internal energy will be positive. And in next case, if the work is done by the system, then this your adiabatic work will be negative.